Hello everybody, this is IndieGeek, and today I'm taking a look at Betrayer. So this is a new kind of adventure first-person shooter game on Steam, and it is by Blackpowder Games. It's only available on Windows, so that is of course something to keep in mind, and it is $20. And of course I will link in the description to where you can purchase the game for yourself if you see fit to after seeing my video. So I'm just going to kind of jump in with a new game here. First off, I do want to say that it is a very kind of unique experience as far as like first-person shooters go, at least by kind of my estimation. I haven't played every first-person shooter that's come out, not even everyone that's come out recently, but that's because a lot of them tend to be kind of the same thing over and over, in my opinion. You see a lot of the same color palettes, you see a lot of the same gameplay elements, a lot of that, and essentially a lot of the times the story kind of boils down into the same thing as well. This really kind of transcends all of those issues. First of all, as we will see going in, and we're kind of already seeing now, the color scheme is black, white, and red. That's pretty much all I've seen. And by black and white I mean it's kind of a monochromatic in shades of black, white, and gray, if that makes sense. So we can melee things. I don't think we can melee the barrels, but we can melee the boxes open. Easy enough. Just like that. So we're just kind of collecting some items here, and as you can see, we are definitely getting that color scheme I was talking about, and because the chest was an important object, it showed up red. And that will be kind of a common thing that happens. As far as the gameplay goes, we're going to be seeing some of that very, very soon. And it is, it's definitely interesting gameplay. I think if I was going to kind of compare the game to anything recently, it would probably be like Far Cry 3, if that makes sense. Because a lot of Far Cry 3 came down to, I mean, not that you had to, but a lot of it was like stealthy gameplay. And as well, it was a lot about being kind of on an island and just exploring it. And that is very much the feel that I get from here. So as far as like the story, what we know right now is we were obviously in a shipwreck, and we are, well, I'll assume that we're in a place we don't know. That's a pretty fair assumption considering our ship obviously wrecked. And yeah, so the color schemes actually really help kind of give that sense of like misunderstanding about the world, and it's just because unless you're colorblind, we see things in color. So to see a world that's not in color, and that was kind of our first interesting bit of story here, to see a world that's not in color it can be like really kind of polarizing. So we got a note from her that says, "I do not know who you are or why you've come here, but you should turn back lest you become trapped in this place as I am." So, pretty ominous there. So, that is our maiden in red. And now we've got the investigation to find a maiden in red. And this is how the story kind of plays out. We pick up notes, we pick up various items and things that help give us things to kind of keep an eye out for, things to search for, things to pay attention to, basically. And our story is told through that. But yeah, I mean, I think just the color scheme alone really just makes it stand apart from a lot of games that are in the same kind of genre as this. And it seems silly to think that a color scheme alone could make that much of a difference, but it really does. It's incredible how different I've felt playing this than playing a lot of the kind of action adventure or like shooter games that have been coming out recently. So we get our bow here. Dear Sir or Madam, I have come into possession of a number of fine items of exceptional quality and indisputable values. As a token of my good faith, I offer you a free bow in hopes that you may survive long enough to become a regular customer. Arrows will be free for a limited time as well. Beware that they may sometimes deflect from armored enemies, so be sure to carry plenty and recover them when you can. I will put my trust in your honor and leave payment for whatsoever else you choose to purchase. Respectfully, John Howe, Merchant. So, we actually don't have enough loot to buy anything yet, but now we've got an arrow, bow and arrow, and as you could expect, typical kind of first-person shooter gameplay here. I'm going to right-click to aim. You can power up your arrows using left-click, and then R will cancel it, which is nice. Alright, so we get another note, and this is really how the story unfolds, is through these notes. Because your well-being is important to me, both physically and sentimentally, I feel I should advise you that enemies are easiest to slay if you can catch them unaware, for their rage makes them stronger. Shots to the head will also inflict more grievous injury than those to the trunk or limbs. Please rely on me when you find yourself in need of deadlier implements of warfare. Cordially, John Howe, Merchant. Alright, so, and we can of course at all times go back and look at updates in our journal if you would like. And at times you will need to. So, we should have our first enemy up here. Okay, and hopefully I won't die in this video. I will say, like, it's pretty tough. Especially because most of the enemies have guns. And, we've got bow and arrow. They have armor, we don't. That kind of stuff. So, I wouldn't be surprised if I do die. Oh, yep, here it's gonna come. Yep, there it is. Yeah, so this is what I was just about to explain. Each time you fall in battle, you drop any valuables you're carrying. If you die before you retrieve them, they'll be lost forever. So, we've got kind of this, kind of Dark Souls style element here as far as our inventory goes and how we manage death. So, I need to try and pick up my money before dying again, otherwise it's just gone, which of course would not be good for business. The other thing to remember, and I don't think it applies to this first enemy, just because it's the first enemy, is that the enemy locations are kind of random, meaning that, like, playthrough to playthrough, they're gonna show up in different places, so you can't just like try and figure out a way to sneak by that'll work every time, because it might work one time and then not work the next, which is really interesting. It makes for some really dynamic gameplay decisions. Oh. I find that as soon as they start running, I've got a really hard time taking them out. Oh, did I get him? I did. Perfect. Alright, so. Ooh, okay, so that was the first enemy. Combat is kind of tough. I spend a lot of time trying to sneak through environments, to be totally honest. And that is because, that was just one enemy, and there are definitely times when we will see 2 or 3 at a time, and that can become really, really overwhelming, like really fast. But it's not too much longer until you actually get like a water skin and can heal yourself in the middle of battle. So we just use water to heal, which I think is fine. Alright. The weapons you recover from slain adversaries are generally of poor quality, being both feebler and more cumbersome to employ than you may desire. The weapons I offer are guaranteed to do more harm and do it faster. Thanks, John. Alright, so this is our nice little loading screen, and this is actually a map that we can pull up at any time. And once we have uncovered more locations, we can actually fast travel. I'm hoping that I can make it to the fort before I wrap this up. I will say, so I'm not sure about like total length of the game, and I don't want to try and make like any assumptions about it. I've played roughly an hour, and at this point of the game it kind of opens up. So like the beginning was kind of our tutorial. It was pretty it was pretty linear. Now we are not so linear. So it was remiss of me not to mention that enemies are more likely to discover you if you are moving. Crouching makes you significantly harder to detect and allows you to move quieter. Use the wind to your advantage. Gusts will mask your footsteps, making it easier to run up behind your foes without alerting them. So all pretty much standard stuff that we would think to see in a game like this. So let me pull up my map here. We are trying to get to the fort in the middle. That is kind of our next goal location. Of course, we've got that guy to worry about. I think what I did before was I came over, kind of hugged the left side here. I really do find this easier to play kind of sneaking. So, of course, the other thing that I haven't really mentioned is the sound. And the sound design is really smart. I think music is used pretty sparingly, which I think is actually a really good idea for a game like this. Especially because I think, the reason that I sneak so much is because it's kind of built to sneak. The enemies are really hard, and you can actually make the enemies easier in the options, but I did want to give you kind of an idea of the actual difficulty of the game. Of course, also to keep in mind is that I'm just not very good at first-person shooters, so that is always something to remember. So, your mileage may vary on difficulty. If you are someone who plays first-person shooters at high difficulty levels, you might not find it to be too difficult. What? Oh, there's a note. Okay. Several among the council are wary of treating with the naturals, but I believe I have convinced them of the necessity, for we cannot assume that Sir Christopher will outfit a resupply fleet with sufficient urgency to ensure it reaches us from England. We have no more need of it. We will starve before spring without succor. Alright, so this is our fort. This is kind of the first goal point, as far as I can tell. We've kind of got like this free-form exploration, basically. So, yep, I do want to heal, thank goodness. So, we can see now that if we wanted, we could fast travel back to the forest edge. I won't right now, because there's no reason to. So, yep, that's fine. Let's see if I should purchase anything. I mean, I could purchase a better bow, and I might do that. I think that's probably a pretty good idea. So, yeah, so now I've got a better bow. Alright, and now we are in another area, and a fairly interesting one at that. And this is actually pretty close to where I'm going to wrap up this look at here. Just to kind of finish up my thoughts on the sound design. Let's see. The Indian king, whom they call a Werowance, was much pleased by our gifts of tools and trinkets and gave us in return an abundance of corn and bear meat, which is an excellent victual. So we've kind of got like this old, it almost feels kind of like Revolutionary era kind of settlement, and the way the language is used, stuff like that. Alright, so we've got a bell, which is going to obviously solve some sort of issue for us, which would be ringing the bell. There was a missing bell over there. I didn't check it because I knew I needed to go grab the bell first. There's nothing we can do with these. I did find a trowel when I was playing before, but it still wouldn't let me dig those up. But yeah, overall, as far as like sound design goes, a lot of the noises and stuff are used pretty sparingly, and I think that's a good thing. Like I said, music is only occasional. So yeah, there we got our water skin. Another note to read. Just more stuff to update the journal. I'm not really going to bother with that now. We've got these weird like ash figures. I don't know what you're supposed to do, but I've been like knifing them and then they kind of disintegrate, which is a little sad, I guess. But I'm going to wrap this up here by placing the bell. Yeah, come on. There we go. And then ringing the bell. And so we actually get kind of a secondary world here. And this is going to basically turn into we've got two different worlds to mess around with. And yeah, that's kind of the bit of a cliffhanger sneak peek that I kind of want to leave this off at. So, I mean, my overall impressions, I'm really enjoying it. I think from a story, art, and design perspectives, it's much more well thought out than a lot of first-person shooters that we see. At least in my opinion, of course. That's all. That stuff like that is always going to be just personal opinion, but that is really how I feel about this. I think it's a really well-made game. It runs really well, it looks really nice, and it just plays really well. And I think kind of the biggest drawing point is that the way the story is told and the way the art looks, stuff like that, is really causing me to pay a lot more attention to it than I might with other first-person shooter games. So, I would recommend this if maybe you kind of feel like a lot of shooters are getting bland, a lot of adventure games are getting kind of bland and all feel the same as all the other ones. Definitely, whoa. That was weird. I did not do that before when I played before, but that is pretty cool. So, yeah, this is where I'm going to leave this off. I definitely give this a huge recommendation, especially if you're looking for a fresh idea. So, as always, feel free to comment if there's anything that you would like to comment on. Subscribe to the channel to see more of my videos every single day, and if you liked what you saw in my video of Betrayer, then consider clicking the like button, because that helps me out a lot, and I appreciate everything that you do to help. So with all of that being said, I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.